I watched who I believe are the two best quarterbacks in college football play this past Saturday. One dude is undefeated and, in my opinion, underutilized. And of course, I'm speaking of Indiana QB Fernando Mendoza. The other quarterback made 5 of the sweetest throws you're going to see from anybody this season. He also missed some big throws. I'm talking about Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. I'll explain all of that in today's show. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. Ty Simpson is elite, mostly.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up.
So Fernando Mendoza showed exactly why he's in my dude category for quarterbacks this year with his last-second clutch drive against Penn State at Penn State and throwing the game-winning touchdown pass to Omar Cooper. A hell of a catch, tapping in the back of the end zone there to keep Indiana undefeated at 10-0. But this video is about the Alabama LSU, less than artistic, less than great execution on offense, 20-9 Crimson Tide win, and Ty Simpson's performance. This win in Tuscaloosa moves Alabama's record to 8-1, and they get ready to play a dangerous Oklahoma Sooners team with a pretty nasty-ass defense and a gunslinger at quarterback in John Mateer. As always, guys, please like and share this video out. Subscribe to the channel, QB Unfiltered. This really helps my channel out when you guys do this. That's QB Unfiltered. I greatly appreciate the support. All right, so a couple weeks ago, I did a video where I talked about Ty Simpson's performance against South Carolina. And in that video, I pointed out in Simpson's 2025 body of work, he has consistently established himself as, in my opinion, one of the top 3 QBs in the country. So I'm going to throw Ohio State's Julian Sayin in there as the number 3 guy. And then you've got Fernando Mendoza, as I talked about earlier, and Ty Simpson. I think those 3 guys have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And now after 10 games into this 2025 season, it's in concrete now that Ty Simpson is in the dude stratosphere. So coming into this LSU game, Simpson had thrown for 2,184 yards. He'd tossed 20 touchdown passes and only 1 pick. Those are impressive numbers. Now, you know, in all of these games that I watched this year, I've got a notepad next to me as I'm watching them. And every now and again, a certain pass by a quarterback just jumps out at me, and I'll write down on my pad, that's his best throw. And then later on in the game, he'll make one that might be his second best throw, and I'll put it, that's his second best throw, or it's his best throw, and I'll go back in and scratch out what I originally put and write second best throw, and then the one that happened later in the game, that's his best throw. So in these videos that I do, I'm always highlighting what, in my opinion, are a quarterback's best 2 or 3 throws. And that's been consistent all year long. In this game against LSU, in the first half, I wrote down, that's Ty Simpson's best throw. About a series later, I scratched it and I went, nah, this is Ty Simpson's best throw. About a series or 2 later, I scratched that. Nah, this is Ty Simpson's best throw. That went on and on. So in this game, I'm going to show you 5 throws that he made that all of those could be his best throw of the game. I'm also going to show you some throws that were just maddening to Crimson Tide fans that were incompletions. And when Ty Simpson throws incompletions, and this is how good he is, when he misfires on throws, people are so used to him being a machine throwing that when he misfires, you got people frustrated and upset. And I'm one of those guys. And I know how the game works, and I know how quarterback works, and I know how difficult it is to stand in the pocket with guys trying to rip your head off and complete balls, with defensive coverages moving all over the joint, your receivers running full speed routes, less than full speed routes, running the right routes, not running the right routes, and you've got to be able to deal the rock with all of that stuff, all that mayhem, and all that movement going on. So for me and for anybody else to sit here and go, well, Ty Simpson should be, completing 90% of his throws. And how does he miss that throw? And what's up with that miss and all that? That's just crazy. But some of the misses that he had in this game, we're talking about not badly overthrowing a guy or underthrowing a guy or throwing behind a guy. We're talking about the ones that are just off the fingertips of his receiver, just out of the reach by a millimeter. And that's got to be frustrating. And frustrating for Ty Simpson, frustrating for the coaching staff, Ryan Grubb, Sheridan, the quarterback coach. That's the level of quarterback that Ty Simpson has ascended to. Okay. And that's just part of the game. And that's part of the pressure that's put on the QB. And that's why they get paid the big bucks. All right. Simpson's stat line in this game. He was 21 for 35. That's 60% completion. He threw for 277 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and 0 picks. Alabama won their 17th straight home game. That's impressive. Okay, let's talk about Ty Simpson. Now, I'm always studying body language of QBs. I'm studying body language, the vibe they put off, and I also study facial expressions. I think that tells you a lot about what's going on inside of a QB is written all over his face. Again, these are just observations on him. I know that he knows that he has elevated himself into that upper level of quarterbacks in college football. And it's interesting to see how college quarterbacks handle that pedestal when they're put up there. The guys that can handle it and thrive with that, and the guys that let that eat them up. And when I say eat them up, I'm talking about the guys that start pressing when they play, trying to throw a touchdown pass on every play, trying to be perfect on every pass, that kind of stuff. And then they beat themselves up mentally when they aren't successful 100% of the time. Now, in this game, a couple of times, the analyst in this game, Greg McElroy, who's a former quarterback, and he does a hell of a job, I think, in breaking the game down on TV. But he said a couple of times in this game that Ty Simpson was a true student of the game and that he is somewhat obsessive about his performance. And I could see parts of this game where that obsessiveness and that attitude and that drive kind of affected his performance on the field. So let's talk about that. That needs to be carefully controlled by Simpson, because I saw some signs in this game where it looked almost to the point where he was putting so much pressure on himself to perform that he was counterproductive in what he was doing. There was a third down in the fourth quarter where he ended up throwing the ball to his tight end on like a little seam vertical route. This was on Simpson because he got the ball out of his hand late. And because he got the ball out of his hand late, the safety for LSU got a beat on Simpson's eyes and that tight end, and he was screaming downfield. The throw was perfect. The ball was right there, but LSU's safety did a hell of a job of driving his helmet right through that ball as he caught it, and it popped out for an incomplete pass. Now, Ty Simpson knew when that happened that was on him for getting the ball out of his hand late. The camera flips to Simpson in a close-up, and he takes both hands and hits himself in the helmet with both hands. Now, that's a somewhat normal reaction for a true competitor at the quarterback position. But I also saw after that, and for a few series after that, it was almost like when he would drop back to pass, he was squeezing the air out of the football. And as a QB, and I could do a whole show on this, you got to have this Zen-like attitude and physical performance, Zen-like, where you just let it happen. And you just natural flow and rhythm when you throw the ball. And as soon as you start squeezing the air out of the ball and start on throws. My dad used to call it aiming the ball. You know, when I was a pitcher in baseball, you're trying to be so cute and careful and hit that strike zone. You start aiming the ball and your accuracy goes to hell. And saw just a little bit of that. So I think Ty Simpson really needs to control this. You know, part of his process and preparing for games, and he's a student of the game. That's one of the things that makes him a great quarterback. He just needs to be careful how he lets that affect his game, right? That's just my opinion. All right. Now, in this game, I really enjoyed watching Ty Simpson's mental command of Alabama's offense. There were multiple times where he went up to the line of scrimmage and changed the pass protection based on what he was seeing front-wise, coverage-wise, or blitz-wise. The other thing that he did, and I was so happy to see him do this and wasn't surprised, when I watch these games on TV, I'm looking at the offense come out in the formation, and then I go right to the front and coverage to see what they're playing defensively, and then I'm looking for any type of gimmies. A gimme is a situation like this. You're lined up in trips, and to the single receiver side, the cornerback is pressed up in that guy's face with no safety help over the top. So like they're playing one safety high and he's in the middle of the field, or he could be even lined up on the opposite hash mark, right? And you've got this guy out here basically on an island with an opportunity to go vertical or whatever you've got as a gash play. And no matter what your route concept is and what your post-snap reads are, you go to that guy and you take a shot at it. So there was like 4 times in this game where Alabama lined up formation-wise, LSU lined up in their coverage, and I'm like, holy shit, look at that guy. And sure enough, Ty Simpson was going to that guy. Now, I'm pretty sure that this was him. This could also be, Sheridan on the sideline who's yelling out there or signaling out there and tagging receivers. I don't know. But that's sure refreshing to see because, there's a bunch of quarterbacks in college football and a bunch of quarterbacks in the NFL that can't do that stuff. Right. And so that was kind of fun to watch. And one thing that made Simpson's night really challenging was LSU's defensive coordinator did a great job in changing up coverage looks. And we're going to talk about this when we get into the clips, but there was one play where Simpson threw the touchdown pass right before the half where LSU trying to confuse him with a disguised coverage. It bit him in the ass because their free safety was way out of position when the ball was snapped and Simpson stuck it in there for a touchdown. But I thought LSU's D coordinator did a great job in this game. All right, let's jump into some game clips here. Number 1, first drive for Alabama and the first completion for Simpson. And this is textbook quarterback play. It's also coached behavior. It's 3rd and 6, and Bama's in trips left with this single receiver lined up as a true tight end. LSU is in this goofy ass front that they played a lot in this game where instead of playing a 4-man defensive front, they took one of those defensive linemen and walked him back like into inside linebacker alignment. Okay, just crazy stuff, but enough about the defense. All right, Alabama's running an option route to the number 3 receiver to the trip side, and that's the side that Simpson's keying. Now, the option route, in my opinion, is open, and if I'm Simpson, I'm getting it to him right now, but for whatever reason, he doesn't pull the trigger. Instead, he calmly snaps his eyes to the backside, and they've got the running back running this little check out route, right, to the right side. And Simpson just calmly snaps his eyes, stays in the pocket, gets his feet right, and delivers a great throw in stride to the running back. It's 8-9 yard gain, first down, and that's textbook quarterback play, but that's also coached behavior. That stuff's being drilled by Grubb and Sheridan in practice and the meeting rooms. Now, I said I was going to show you 5 of what I thought were Ty Simpson's 5 best throws. This is number 3. His 3rd best throw of the game. First quarter, it's 1st and 10. Bama's in double tight, and they've got a 7-man protection going on, so they're running a 3-man route. LSU's in a 4-3 front running cover 3, and they're bringing an inside linebacker and the strong safety to the same gap on the same side. Now, Bama doesn't block this right to the blitz side, and the strong safety ends up coming free, but he runs up the backside of the inside linebacker right in front of him. Alabama's running back does a really nice job in protection here. You know, Bama's backs do a good job in pass pro. Okay, now Simpson does a 5-step drop and then takes a nice subtle slide step to his right. He's keying the curl route to his right, and then he snaps his eyes right over the ball, and there's this deep hook splitting those two inside linebackers, sticks it right there. So it's slide step, snap eyes, get your feet underneath you, and he throws a seed. Hits that guy right in the chest with the throw. Nice job. All right. Ty Simpson can throw dig routes in his sleep. It's first quarter, 1st and 10. Bama's in trips left. LSU is in a 4-2 cover 3. I'm telling you, cover 3 is the new cover 2. And Ryan Grubb should be licking his chops seeing a lot of cover 3. But like I said, LSU's D coordinator didn't just line up in it. All right. He was giving you different looks and then buzzing to cover 3 on the snap of the ball. Okay. Simpson play fakes, takes a 7-step drop. Now I want you to notice the last 2 steps of his drop. For the most part, when he's throwing the football, he does a great job of this. And what that is the last 2 steps of your drop, no matter what type of drop you're taking, the last 2 steps put you in position to throw the ball. Now, there are a lot of times where he ends up hitching up and throwing or hitch throw, but if he doesn't have to hitch step, so when he hits that last step on a 5-step or a 7-step, the last 2 are chopped. And what that does is it gets your feet underneath your shoulders and in that proper base where you can just push off that back foot stride and get the ball out. Okay, so they're running a shallow cross from right to left here, and they've got a dig route coming in from the left outside receiver. That's kind of unusual. Most teams will run that dig from one of the inside receivers. Alabama brings it from the outside left receiver. Now, Simpson takes 2 hitch steps on this, and like the route that I talked about in the South Carolina game where he was throwing the dig, the reason why he takes 2 hitch steps is because the first one he hitches, that dig is just starting to get behind the inside linebacker, dropping to hook, and then that second one times it out to where that receiver is just clearing that inside linebacker's drop, and now the ball's out. You've got that wide open grass, and he zips it right there. Easy money. Okay, this is Ty Simpson's 4th best throw of the game. Second quarter, 2nd and 3. Bama's in trips right. They motion the running back out now to quads. Now, to that 4 receiver side, they're running 2 little stick routes with number 2 and number 1. The number 3 receiver is trying to run a corner route. His release isn't really good here. And the running back, after the motion, just turns and spots up to the QB. He's like a stretch guy and a check down guy. But the game is on the other side of the field to the single receiver who's running a out and up. This is an isolation play, and LSU is playing the perfect coverage for this in that they're in 1 high. Now what makes this play difficult for Simpson is the safety's not in the middle of the field. He's cheated over to the single receiver side. But watch what Ty Simpson does here to make this play go. He knows that he's going to this receiver before the ball's snapped, and he knows he's got 1 safety high. So on the snap of the ball, Simpson looks him off to the right to try to get that safety to move. Even just a little bit is going to give him enough space to stick that ball in there. So that's coach behavior. We've seen Ty Simpson do this before. That's a great job by him of glancing off that safety and then coming right back. And because that safety is cheated over that way anyway, and it's got a short runway to get outside of the ball, Simpson has to throw that sucker flat, and he puts an absolute dime right on his receiver. This is a great throw for a 33-yard gain, which now moves us to Ty Simpson's best throw of the game. Okay, and this baby is sweet. Second quarter, 2nd and 5, Bama is in a 1970s formation of a true tight end with 2 wideouts. right? One on either side. Simpson is under center, and they're in the I formation. Now, believe it or not, based on this formation and the goofy stuff that LSU did in this game, I think they're trying to play a form of cover 2 when the ball is snapped here. I know they're playing 2 zone to Simpson's right, the offensive right side. So Bama runs the right receiver on a post, the left receiver on a deep crossing route, and then the tailback after the play fake leaks through the line of scrimmage and he's running an out route to the right. This is a vertical read for Simpson. Post, crosser, flat route. Post, crosser, flat route. And the first thing I want you to look at with Simpson's technique, and this is why I say this is his best throw, because there's a lot of things tied into what makes a throw the best throw. And this is one of them right here. So as he hits his last step and starts to climb up into the pocket, watch what he does with his shoulders, his hands, and the football. So as he starts to climb, he turns his shoulders and the ball away from his right offensive tackle and that defensive end for a possible hand swat coming from that D end. So he's climbing, he turns and hides that football and then gets it right back to ball carriage. So that's great technique by Ty Simpson. He gets his feet right. He's made his decision on where he's going to go with the ball. Now, the safety to the side of the post route dives down, but because the other safety is so tight, he kind of takes that post route away, and that's why Simpson's going to the deep crosser, and this is why this is the best throw of the night. That safety to Simpson's right is diving down on that crossing route, and you can see when that ball hits the receiver that safety is about a yard or two in front of the receiver. You can also see, if you're watching this at home and you pause it on this clip when the ball is just getting to the receiver, that LSU has got 3 underneath guys that have all sunk underneath that route. So there are basically 4 guys surrounding that route. And I swear that Simpson had to drop this ball in about a 6-yard square. And then you add on top of that, he had to throw it with enough pace to beat that safety coming downhill, but he had to put enough loft and touch on it to get it over the heads of those guys that are sinking underneath it. And he drops it right in there. An amazing throw for a 32-yard gain. This is Ty Simpson's best throw of the night. All right, this is Ty Simpson's second best throw of the game. Second quarter, 2nd and 10. There's 52 seconds to go in the half. Bama's in trips left. LSU is in a 32 up front. Okay. 32 front up means their 2 inside linebackers are walked up on the line of scrimmage over the guards and standing up, and they're playing cover 2. Now, on the snap, they're taking their safeties and splitting them really wide, and because of that, that slot defender over the number 2 receiver to the trip side has got to run vertical with any vertical route from that receiver, which is exactly what happens. And this is a smart route concept by Ryan Grubb. The single receiver now to the right eats up that safety with this out route. Okay, he eats up that safety who's getting wide anyway. And what that does is it makes it a true one-on-one now with a diagonal vertical receiver and that slot defender. And Simpson knows pre-snap where he's going with the ball, and this is QB 101. So on Simpson's drop, he glances now to that out route, which assures now that safety is going to widen and get the hell out of the way of that diagonal coming in the back door. And then it's 5-step, hitch, and deliver an absolute dime for 53 yards. This is a great throw right before half. Okay, so now this takes us to the TD pass right before the half. And this is one where LSU got into trouble disguising coverages. It's second quarter. It's 1st and 10 from the 14-yard line. There's 28 seconds to go in the half. Now, Bama's using some tempo, and LSU looks a little disorganized trying to get lined up here. You can tell that they're a little disorganized because when the ball snapped, they've only got one defensive lineman that's got his hand in the dirt. I think they're in a 40 front. Okay, they're dropping a defensive lineman on the snap, and then they're bringing a slot defender from the wide side of the field. this isn't very sound by them. And then they really screw things up by I think they're trying to play cover 3 here, believe it or not. And the free safety, who should be in the middle of the field, is way over to Simpson's right side, outside of the hash. It's almost like on the snap of the ball, he went, oh shit, and tried to bust his tail to get back through the middle there. Now, Alabama is running a scissors concept from the left side where their outside receiver is coming inside and now working up the hash on that seam vertical. And the slot receiver is scissoring or meshing off of him to the outside and hitching it up. Now, Ty Simpson backs out of this. And I'm not sure why he's doing that. Okay. He didn't do this all game long. He's backing out for some reason. And all of a sudden he sees, holy cow, they screwed their coverage up and we've got a guy running down the seam. They've got no safety. And again, he does a great job of trying to pat his feet down to stop his momentum to get enough gas on that throw to stick it in there, which he does. Okay, so here's a couple of examples of Ty Simpson just missing throws in this game. Third quarter, 3rd and 8, Bama's in a 2-by-2. They motion to trips left. LSU's in that crazy 3-man front. They're doing their twisting stuff. They're playing some form of man coverage. The number 3 receiver takes an inside release and runs what I call a fin route. He bends it back outside and he's open. And this is one that Ty Simpson expects to complete every time he throws it. Ryan Grubb expects him to complete it every time he throws it. Kalen DeBoer expects it completed, and the Crimson Tide Nation expects it to be completed. But it's just off the fingertips, and that was a big miss. Finally, this shit, guys, drives me absolutely nuts. This is Ty Simpson's 5th best throw of the game. 4th quarter, 2nd and 10. Now, when Bama lined up in this formation and LSU lined up defensively, this is one of those plays where I'm looking at the single receiver who is Isaiah Horton, and I'm going, oh man, just go vertical. Go vertical with him. Go vertical. Look at this. This is a big play. And sure enough, that's what they've got on here. Simpson saw this, and I'm sure his eyes got about that big, and he got a big-ass smile on his face because he knows he's going to hit a big play here. And what Simpson does, again, you got one safety high, so what do you do with that one safety high? He glances him off to the right to get him to move slightly to the right, and then he comes back with a GST with his feet, just chop, get him under his shoulders, and he throws a perfect ball out there. Here is the issue. Horton jogs his route, and on the snap of the ball, I can see what's going on with the play, and I can tell that Simpson's glancing off and is coming back, is throwing the vertical, and I look at Horton, and I see the speed that he's running with, and I'm going, what in the is that? And, you know, Isaiah Horton reportedly runs high 4.4, low 4.5. When you're looking at this route, does this look high 4.4, low 4.5? If you're 4.4, we used to have this saying, if you're 4.4, play 4.4 every snap. If you're 4.5, play 4.5 every snap. You know how bad this screws up a quarterback when you got a dude that can fly and decides to not go full speed on a vertical route? So this is what makes this a great throw, because Ty Simpson had to basically, this thing's covered. He had to basically jam this sucker right in between Horton's hands. He couldn't have walked the ball down to him and jammed it between his hands any more perfect than what he threw it. Now, Horton did a great job of going up, strong hands, got the meat hooks on it, pulled it down for a nice gain, but holy cow, go full speed, make a big play. Okay, here's some quick observations on this game. You know, there was a little stretch there. I talked about this earlier where I thought that Ty Simpson was just grinding, pressing too much mentally upstairs, and it was affecting his performance. And what Ryan Grubb did was really smart. So he had a couple series where he was misfiring on throws and there was a little frustration showing. And then they go out for a series, and what does Grubb do? Like 2 plays, 3 plays in a row. Nice, easy, short, little passes completions. And what this does is it gets Simpson back into rhythm. And more importantly than that, it gets his confidence flowing again. It also moves the sticks. My question is, and this isn't just to Grubb, it's to anybody, why wouldn't you just do that to start every drive of every game, the entire game? Go out there and start the series off with your quarterback throwing easy completions, moving the sticks, right? Get them in the flow of the game. But I thought that was really smart on Grubb's part. Okay. And finally, with Ty Simpson, an observation. If you stuck around after the game and listened to him on his post-game interview on the field, he did a hell of a job. Now, he was still a little amped up, right? You could tell he was amped up, but man, it was refreshing to listen to him. You know, over the years, I've listened to a lot of dumbass quarterbacks do post-game interviews on the field where I'm just like, man, read the room, buddy. Represent your school, your teammates, your coaching staff. Read the room and act accordingly. Right? And listening to Simpson the other night after that game reminded me of listening to Michael Penix Jr., listening to Cam Ward, listening to Bo Nix. He just said the right stuff and he handled himself the right way for a starting quarterback. That was really cool to see. I love mostly everything about Ty Simpson's game. The total package, physical and mental and leadership. He just can't press. Let the game come to him. Just let it flow and do your thing. Okay, guys, let me know what you think. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.